Hello, hello. It's Mary Schiller here with you live. If you happen to be online and on Facebook, I'm glad to welcome you to this talk all about money, money, money. One of my favorite topics, especially of late. And I'm really happy to be sharing some thoughts and ideas with you on this topic. Hey, Lori, thanks for letting me know you're there. I really appreciate it. I still have a little bit of a cold, so you'll have to listen to this slightly nasally, froggy voice, and I may cough occasionally. So I'm going to just apologize in advance for any of that. I wanted to have this little chat with all of you about money because it still seems to be a major topic that gets people a little bit tied up in knots and sometimes a lot tied up in knots. And I've had several conversations with people recently that just made me really want to address this topic in a bit more head-on way here in Price Like a Girl. So if you are watching the replay, feel free to post comments. And if you join live, feel free to chime in anytime. So I wanted to talk about three different things on this little Facebook Live. The first is I want to clear up a major misconception that you probably have about money that is possibly keeping you from creating more wealth in terms of money and other kinds of wealth. And this is something that when I think about it for myself, it's actually kind of amusing because I had plenty of evidence to show me this, but I didn't really see it very clearly until, maybe about a year and a half ago, I would say, maybe a little bit longer. So, in Western culture, at least, we are always saying, money can't buy you happiness and, but at the same time, why don't you give me $1 million and I'll test that theory? So we kind of are in this space where we say that we realize, that money can't do this for us and money can't make us feel this way and all of that. But yet a lot of our language really contradicts that. For instance, we have phrases like financial security. Financial security. That is so ingrained in our culture that we don't even stop to think about what that phrase is actually saying. That is saying that somehow finances equal or can create a feeling of security. And you may be saying to yourself, well, isn't that true? If you're watching live, have you had that thought before? Like, yeah, if I have X amount of money in the bank or I have X amount in my retirement fund, then I have security. It's so natural almost that we don't stop to think of the fact that it's actually false. It's actually false because no feeling at all can ever be tied to a thing. And you can test this out because there are plenty. Hi, Fiona. You can see me, but you can't hear me. Lori, can you hear me? Are you still there? Maybe I'm not coming through loud and clear. Make sure the volume is turned up, or Fiona, I don't know how to communicate because I can only speak. I can't send a message. Okay, Lori, you can hear me. Maybe Lori, you can type a note to Fiona that she can refresh the page and see if that helps. So, one of the ways you can know that it's true that money and finances don't equal security is that hi Mimi, there are plenty of people in this world who have a lot of money who also suffer from tremendous insecurity. Thanks, Lori. They walk around in a constant state of worry that they're going to lose all their money. Hi, Mimi, I'm doing all right. Thank you. They, feel nervous if their stocks fluctuate or something. So even if you look at it just from that standpoint, what amount of money seems to create a feeling of security? Um, and, when I stop to really look at this, thanks, Lori, for trying to help. I really appreciate that. Sometimes when I really stop to look at this, the fact that I ever believed that there was something called financial security almost looks completely strange and weird to me. That I could ever believe that a feeling like that could come from any place other than within myself. So, one of the things that I write about in the Price Like a Girl book and in many of my other books is that a feeling of security, feeling of worth, feelings of joy and happiness are our birthright. They are actually what we are made of. They certainly don't come from anything outside of us, and they could never come from money. So if you're seeing things like security, happiness, peace, any of those things as being related in any way whatsoever to money, that is definitely, I'm going to say definitely, having an effect on your ability to perhaps generate more of it. This became very clear to me when I had a financial shortfall about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, where some of you have heard this story. My husband had to leave his job to go care for his father, who was dying at the time. His supervisors wouldn't let him telecommute, even though, long story, he was already basically doing that. But in any case, he had to quit his job. And so I was then the sole provider for the family. And then I got fired from my job right at the same time when all of the savings, nearly all of the savings that we had saved up so that my husband could quit working, got decimated by a major, major problem that we had to just fork over a bunch of cash for. So I remember having this feeling at that moment like, wow, this is probably, one of the more serious times I've had financially in recent memory. And yet I wasn't all that scared. I kind of freaked out for about a half an hour. And then that freaking out feeling sort of went away. And what replaced it was this inner sense of calm that we all have, this composure and this creativity that is innate. And thanks for trying to help Fiona there. I think she'll have to just see if she can work that out. So, she'll figure it out. Thank you so much. So what replaced it, like I said, was this feeling of calm and composure. And I had an idea of what to do. And so I started taking steps in that direction. So in all that to say that I no longer saw my feelings of security or of vulnerability or happiness or anything tied to my bank balance. They seemed like totally different things, no connection whatsoever between them. And knowing that, really knowing that, like not just lip service, but really knowing that allowed me to start creating the business that I now have that is financially viable and is, sustaining us and doing well for us. And I really think that it's because I saw for myself what I'm trying to convey to you, which is that if you have any sense at all that your security, your happiness, your well-being, anything is tied to money, you're looking in the wrong direction. And it's not that it's a mistake, because I did it too. I could also look back, and I'm going to ask you this too. Have you had times in your life where you were happy but didn't have much money, and times when you were unhappy and you had a lot of money? So I definitely have had periods like that where I've been extraordinarily happy and had nothing in the bank or been in debt. And I've had times when I was miserable and was flush with cash. And I started looking at that and going, well, isn't that interesting? It really does start to become obvious that if we are tying a feeling, any kind of feeling, to money, or how much of it we have, or how little of it we have, or how much debt we have, we are simply caught in a thought misunderstanding situation. So I want to just pause there for a quick second, because a few of you are online. Is what I'm saying making sense to you? That if you have this idea that there is some relationship between a feeling that you have and money, that you're kind of falling for a misconception of what's really happening, because that is so fundamental to this whole discussion of money that I had to start with that, because it's just so huge, really. I would love to do away with the whole conversation about financial security, because it's just not so. That doesn't exist. Good, Mimi, I'm glad it makes some sense. And it's really hard to see that sometimes, because, as I said at the beginning, we're so conditioned to talking about money in this way, to looking at finances as somehow equaling a sense of security, that we really can get lost in that, really lost in that, to the point where we are really cutting ourselves off from our innate ability to create whatever wealth we would like to create. Let's see. I hope you don't have. Yeah, I hope you don't have to go through that either. But it's really fine. It was really fine. In fact, I was thinking about that time again about a week or so ago, and realizing that I wouldn't be sitting here in Paris right now if that situation hadn't arisen, because that's what came out of that whole thing. Was we realized that we had to sell our home in New York and make a decision to move here. That was what we had to do in order to take care of our financial obligations. Lori said, I grew up with a father who tied stability with money, and that got drilled into my, right. And it is so ingrained, it seems like, that it's hard to separate the two things. But all you really have to do, and this is what I do with everything, all you really have to do is look for evidence to show you that it simply isn't so. If, and this is such a cliche, but I'm going to say it anyway, if money had anything to do with stability or happiness or security, then anyone who had, millions of dollars would never kill themselves, would never take drugs, would be living a happy, peaceful lifestyle. And yet that isn't what happens, is it? It's just not what happens. Hey, Fiona, great. I'm glad you made it. So the reason I'm kind of driving this point home so much is because when we can understand that our sense of security, our sense of stability, like Lori said, our sense of happiness and well-being is innate, that we don't have to do anything to get that we don't have to earn a certain amount of money in order to get that, then it's like the lid comes off and our whole creative spirit, if you will, can really, really come to life. Hey, good, Fiona. So the next thing I wanted to mention is that it's really futile to look in the direction. This is how it looks to me. I'll preface that with this. It's really futile to keep going in this direction of I have to do something about my limiting beliefs around money, or I have to get rid of money blocks. And in the Price Like a Girl book, I talk about this quite a lot. But it was really brought home to me about a week or so ago. I had a conversation with someone who I didn't know. We connected through another professional group. And her whole focus of her work had to do with breaking through money blocks. And we were having this conversation, and I'm listening to her, and all I can think of is, why would I want to waste my time trying to do something with thought when I can't control thought? It comes in, it does whatever it does, it says whatever it says. I can't do anything about that. And instead of worrying about what those thoughts are and believing that they have some significance, I'm just going to go make some money. You know, while you guys are all over there trying to break through your money blocks and dealing with limiting beliefs and, you know, playing merry-go-round with all of that kind of thinking and trying to figure out where it came from and all that stuff, I'm going to go over here and go create some money if that's okay. You know? And so I will give you an example from this week, okay? So this is a pretty personal example, but I'm very transparent, so I'm going to share it with you. On Monday, we got a piece of paper here in France, basically calling something due that we owed. Now, we knew that we owed it. We had been paying something monthly on this. It has to do with the building that we're in. Long story short, they did a bunch of external renovation to this building, and they didn't give the owners much notice of this, nor did they say how much our portion of the bill was going to be until the last minute. So many of us were not prepared to fork over. It was literally tens of thousands of euros like that. Okay. So we gave them some to get started, and then we'd been paying some every month to take care of the bill. So we got basically process served here on Monday with something saying this is due now. And it was several thousand euros, which I won't say we didn't have it, but I didn't really feel comfortable right at this moment writing a check for that amount of money. So I said to my husband, oh, and by the way, the process server had about 12 other envelopes in his hand, and he was going up and down in the building. So it wasn't just us. So I said to my husband, you know what? We're going to make this money this week. This was on Monday. We got served. And I said, we're going to make $5,000 to $6,000 this week. So we can write them a check from that money. I don't want to take it out of our savings. I want to make the money and do it. And he's like, what? We're going to do what? And I said, yeah, we're going to do it. So so we started basically on Monday. I actually got paid something that was owed to me on Monday. So that took care of about 1,000 of it. We came up with a service offering, which some of you may know about, and put that out on Tuesday. And by yesterday, we had made all of the money that we needed. So what that showed me was, now when the process server came to the door and had me sign for the thing, you can imagine maybe what kind of thinking I had. I was like, oh my gosh, this can't be good, you know? And then what I did was I kind of set that off to the side and went, yeah, okay, fine. I'm a little nervous about it, whatever. And I just kind of was like, all right, so I need a solution. I want to make this money this week so I don't have to take it out of our savings account. So what can I do? And I let the ideas come. I didn't have a sense of nervousness about it. I was just like, we're going to just do this, and that's it. And it's amazing to me how creative we actually are as human beings when we can set sort of the worry and freaking out off to the side and allow that innate creativity to come to the surface and help us. So, while somebody else might have been saying, oh my God, here I go again. I can't manage my money. I'm always getting hit with all these bills. Why do I keep doing this? I really need to do something about the way I think about money, so this doesn't happen again. And they're kind of doing those mental gymnastics. Instead, for me, it was like, okay, yeah, got a little freaking out, nervousness going on. Really don't want to deal with the French authorities in this way. So that's fine. So what can I do? And then, like I said, these creative ideas came and we were able to take care of it without a problem. So that's my second big point. First big point was that your feelings of security, happiness, stability have nothing to do with your financial status. Those things are innate. They are never going anywhere. You couldn't destroy them even if you wanted to. They are forever yours. That's point one, which is completely free, because then it means you're completely free to do what you want, to try to make as much money as you want, to do what you want for a living. All kinds of opportunities open up when you see that. Second point is stop wasting time trying to deal with thoughts about money, because you can't. You can't change whatever thinking comes into your head. It's going to just come in. It's going to say whatever it's going to say, but that doesn't mean you have to listen to it. You can kind of go, yeah, thanks for sharing. Thanks for showing up. I'm going to go make some money now. Okay. And just kind of get on with it. So let me pause there and see if anybody has any comments about that. Because I would love to hear. And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to go look back at my list. Oh, yes. Okay. Remember my third point. So, I have to say that it was really exciting to watch the creative process in motion when I made the decision on Monday that we were going to make several $1,000s this week, and that's the money we were going to use to take care of this bill that came due. It was a really fun example of just how much we are capable of. Hey, thanks, me. And so I'm really telling you that story, not in a way to like brag or anything. That's not the point, but to show you that you absolutely have the capability of making as much money as you want, almost like turning on the tap water. It is there because your creativity is there, and your creativity is endless. There is an endless amount of money to be had, to be made by you, and it's totally possible. I'll share another story about this, which maybe a couple of you have heard before. I can't remember if I put this in the book or not, actually. So I have a friend. Oh, hey, Lori, let me see. Spend a lot of time worrying about money. Instead of just being supportive and working. Yeah, exactly. We spend a lot of time in that headspace of worry and concern when we could just say, yeah, I know I'm worried, but whatever, I'm going to go do it now. I'm just going to go about my business and go make some money. So I have a friend who I've known since I was 18. He was 17. We used to date many moons ago. And he was the kind of guy who I always knew would be financially successful. He came from a relatively poor family. And he said, I want to have a lot of money when I get older. I don't want to live the way that my parents did. I want something better for myself. And if I have my own family at some point, I want to give them more. So he had some very good skills. So I knew that he would have no trouble doing that. And of course, he did really well. He's made millions and millions of dollars. He's literally made billions of dollars for the companies he's worked for. So he's done quite well. So a few years ago, this was way before I had any of this understanding. I had another major financial issue, and I was talking to him on the phone, and I said, I'm trying to figure out how to cut down on my expenses and, figure out what to do. Can I cut my cable service? All this stuff. And he stopped me at one point and he said, why would you do any of that? And I said, well, I just told you I'm having money trouble, so I'm trying to see what I can cut back on, until I can figure out what to do. And he's like, well, don't do that. Just go get some more money. I remember being on the phone going, what? Just go get some more money? And he's like, yeah. He's like, there's money everywhere. Just go get it. And now that I've had the experience I just told you about, and I've had others like it, by the way, over the past year and a half, couple of years, that I know it's not a fluke. I now know what he means. It's almost like air. There is money everywhere. It's everywhere. And the way that you, can have more of it for yourself, if that's what you would like to do, is first of all, realizing that you're fine. No matter what your bank account looks like, you're fine. Secondly, if you got, like we've been saying, and Lori was saying, if you got money worried thinking, you don't have to pay attention to it. You can kind of just let it be there and then see what you can create, kind of set that over to the side and don't worry about money beliefs or all that stuff. I'm sorry. I feel like it's nonsense. I'm going to say it's nonsense. Don't worry about that. You've got all the creative resources you need to create what you want. And so this example I gave from this week is literally just one of many that I've had like that, where I've just called on myself and called on the riches that are available to all of us to help me figure out what to do. So that was point number 2. I will recap these again, and I want to go to my point 3, which was see how any anxious feelings you have about money can actually help you move towards abundance and wealth. So what I mean by this is, so for example, on Monday when the guy came to the door with the bill due thing, he's very official, by the way, made me sign for everything, and he was very stern Frenchman, a little bit intimidating. So he was sort of a big, process server type dude. I did have some anxious thinking right then. And I realized as soon as I heard that anxious thinking, I was like, oh, there it is. There's that anxious money thinking that I get sometimes. Well, I'm free to ignore that. That means that that's like my signal now. That means I actually have within me the capability of fixing this. So now every time I have any kind of worry about money like that, or any kind of anxiety comes in, or I feel any sort of heaviness in that way, it's almost like a light bulb for me that kind of wakes me up and says, hey, in that area, you're actually super powerful, Mary. You've got the power of, this innate creativity. You've got the power of all of the resources available to every human being. So, instead of kind of dreading those feelings like I used to, I hated feeling like that. I used to walk around, some of you probably know this because I've shared this. I used to walk around feeling horrible about money like 24 hours a day. It was just a horrific way to live. It was terrible. I felt awful. And now when I think about money, it's more of a zing. It's more like an excitement. And if there's any kind of anxiety in there at all, it's much more like an electrical thing, like that's sort of getting me recharged. Like, oh, right. This is the power that we have. This isn't something to be afraid of. It's an indicator that we have power in this area, just like we do in every other area. Oh, cool, Debbie. I'm so glad. Thank you. So now I see those kinds of anxious worry feelings in a very, very different way. They seem like something that, like I'm being plugged into a socket, like, wake up, Mary. Remember how much power you've got here. You've got the ability to come up with creative solutions. You've got the ability to come up with new ideas. You can try one. If it doesn't work the way that you would like it to, you've got a million more behind that. There's an idea behind every one. So, if one idea doesn't work, there's another one along in a minute. And just keep seeing what happens. So for me, the whole topic of money and this is really my main point in this Facebook Live, the whole topic of money to me has gone from being scary and worry producing and stressful. I mean, really, I was under so much stress that I was creating for myself. It's gone from that to being like a creative, fun, interesting part of human life. You know, I am not a millionaire. I don't want you to think, oh, well, you know, she can talk about this because she has millions of dollars in the bank. I don't yet, not yet. But it doesn't even matter to me because it's just so much fun to see what we can actually do, what we can actually create, what we can, oh, I'm so glad, Debbie. Thank you for that. You know, it's a way for us to express this amazing creative power that we all have. Excuse me. There's somebody in my life right now who is having a financial struggle. And I haven't spoken to her about this, but I may, because what she is experiencing is what I used to think and what a lot of people think, which is that money is finite. I only have a certain amount and it's not going to get much bigger. Or if it does get bigger, then it'll shrink again. And it's just this finite ball, you know, of money. And that's all there is. And that is how she's approaching a particular problem that she has, by seeing that she only has this amount available to her. And what I would love to say to her, if we could have a conversation, is you realize that you have access to an infinite amount of money, right? That money is not finite. It can't be finite. There's no way that it could be. It's like energy. It's like air. It's infinite. And there are infinite ways that you can create more of it for yourself if that's what you need. And once you kind of start to see money itself in that way as not something limited, but as something that's infinite, that again sort of adds another layer of opportunity and possibility onto this whole conversation. And it starts to become lighter. It starts to become more interesting, more fun, more creative. So if I were coaching her, I would, you know, try to help her to set all of those limited ideas, like we were saying, kind of off to the side. Don't deal with them. Don't try to change them, but just kind of go, okay, well, what else do I have available to me? I have this infinite resource called me that is able to create extra money right now if I need it. So I'm just going to do a quick recap of these 3 points, and please feel free to jump in if you have thoughts and comments. So the first point was I wanted to clear up this major misconception about money, which is that it is tied to a feeling ever. So for instance, you know, if you feel like security or freedom or stability or happiness are in any way at all tied to how much money you have or how much money you're earning or anything like that, that's a mirage, because those feelings are innate. They are really who you are. They are what you are. They are your birthright. So you don't have to equate them to anything. You don't have to equate them to not just money, but anything. But in this context, we're talking about money. So the idea that security could ever be tied to money is false, and any other feeling. So if that is kind of going through your mind, or if that's your experience, I would love for you to just kind of pay attention for that, notice that. And if that comes to you, just go, oh, right, I don't have to believe that. That's not true, because security is my birthright. It's innate. So that was the first point. And the second point was stop trying to change your limiting beliefs or getting rid of money blocks. And instead of worrying about all that money thinking, just let it come in, because you can't stop it anyway, and just kind of go, yeah, I hear you, but I'm going to go over here and make some money now. You know? So stop doing all of that, those mental gymnastics, when you could be spending your creative energy actually creating something in terms of money for yourself. So I find that whole piece, like I write in the book, just completely irrelevant. Money mindset and all of that. It just seems like, if I could draw sort of a bad analogy that's coming to me, that's like saying, I'm going to try to deal with the waves on the ocean. I'm going to try to do something to change that. Instead of realizing that the ocean is full of riches, you're kind of spending all your time trying to fix the waves on the top instead of looking at what's beneath that and what's really available. Mimi, what about a challenge? Well, okay, hang on to that thought. Are you reading my mind or what, me? So let me go to the third point and then I'm going to address that. So I said that when you have any anxious or worried feelings about money, you might try to see them as a little spark, like, oh, right. That's a reminder to me that I actually am really powerful in this area. Those thoughts aren't true. They're sending me a little bit of a signal, a reminder that I am really able to handle this, and I can not listen to those. They can come in if they want, but I don't have to listen. And I'm going to instead rely on what is innately mine. I'm going to listen to myself, listen to inspiration, listen for new ideas to solve whatever the money situation is that I'm facing. So to address Mimi's point, I am going to set up a money challenge. I'm just sort of figuring out the details of it. And is today Friday? Today's Friday, right? I will put them in the group on Monday because I really want to help you all to see this for yourselves in a very, very tangible way. So that's so funny that you said that, Mimi, because that was totally on my mind. So look back in this group on Monday, and I will give you the details of this money challenge that I'm coming up with, and it will be a very supported one. It's not going to be sort of a random thing. I won't be leaving you hanging or anything. So there will be something that will come out several days in a row, messages from me, and some live conversations and things. So stay tuned for that on Monday. So before I sign off, does anybody have any questions or thoughts about what I have said? So let me just give you a second to think about that. Pardon me. Looks like we're all good. Thumbs up. I'm kind of sick of the thumbs up symbol, so I'm glad they gave us other ones on Facebook. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. This was so nice to see all of you. I really, really appreciate it. And if other ideas come to you, thanks, Lori. Thanks, Mimi. And I just appreciate you all being here. And if you're watching the replay and you have comments or thoughts, please post them. And again, stay tuned. Thank you, Fiona. I appreciate that. I will post some details on Monday about a really fun money challenge that I want to run with you guys. Yeah, I'm going to bring it on. It's going to be really fun. So I will see you guys very soon. And I want you to have a relaxing weekend. I am going to be taking it easy myself to get over the last vestiges of this cold, but I will check in with the group a couple of times Saturday and Sunday. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you again soon. Oops. Let me see. How do I end? All right. I'll see you later. Bye.